All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Kakadash. I must say double honor to the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone for teaching his word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to my fellow Akim across the four corners of the globe, preaching and prophesying in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And this is the brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii coming to you with another lesson. And this lesson was inspired by this show that I'm currently watching. It's called Dope Sick, and it's about, the opioid epidemic, how it started, and it goes in on these rich elite families. And it was based off a real true story. This guy right here, his name is Richard Sackler, and he comes from one of these prominent billionaire families, all right? And his particular family basically brought the opioid. Well, they were the heads of the opioid epidemic, and the reason why they did it was because they wanted to get some more money. They just not about more money. Their business was about to tank, so they had to figure out a new way to push their drugs, man. Because this the so-called white man, you Edomites, you're the big time drug dealers. You're the real drug dealers. You'll lock a nigga up for being a so-called legal drug dealer, but Big Pharma, you're the reason why we have a so-called drug problem here in America and in the world, man. And when you as you look at this picture, hopefully they don't get a strike, copyright situation. But when you look at this picture, what do you see? These Edomites, these super elite, they still live like Jake is on a plantation, i.e., they have Jake servants. When I say Jake, I'm talking about so-called uh, so-called like you still living in slavery, man. When I say Jakes, you so-called Negroes, particularly, because who are the maids in this scene right here? Who the servants? We are the Israelites, man. Real quick, there's this is Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiastes 10:6. All right, it says, "Folly is set in great dignity, and a rich sit in low place. I've seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants on the earth." Right, and you see a prince right here standing in the corner walking as a servant on the earth, but the servants, they're sitting upon horses, they're sitting upon the seats of power. All right. And it's like Jake not even in a room, and they're discussing this particular family right here, the Sackler family. They're split because they don't agree with certain business practices that's being had. And this is how these Edomites talk. They actually have a like a proctor, you know, an individual that just sit there and he speaks for them, even though he's speaking, he can hear them in the same room. Yeah, the pride of this pompous of this pomp of this devil, he can sit in a room and have somebody speak for him, and he can do the same thing. And this is what they're doing, and this is what the super elite do. The super elite, they sit in these meetings. Where they at right now is in this scene is a museum. So a lot of these museums, they play a forum for these super elite dinners and family bickering, man. Okay, and this is how they get their disagreements hashed out over dinner. But what they're doing is they're making policy to destroy people. And you notice there's no Israelites sitting amongst this table. There's one standing up as a servant, but all these are Edomites. These are all devils, man. And this is what they really do in real life. So let me play this scene real quick.
Development of this new product.
Dr. Sackler, there's great concern that your son Richard has spent more than $40 million in the development of this.
10 times more than what we've spent on anything, ever.
As stated by Mortimer's son, Mortimer DA, there is great concern among A shareholders.
You have literally placed this entire company in jeopardy.
Please tell Dr. Mortimer Sackler that B shares, who last I checked have the same voting power as A shares, are honored he flew in from his self-imposed exile in Switzerland, and we hope his unpatriotic tax dodging continues to be successful.
It has.
Now, I understand.
Yeah, and that's another thing they show you too. Here it is, they'll lock a Jake up, some nigga like Wesley Snipes for not paying taxes, but they're super elite. That's all they do, because it's all about profit for them, and it's all about destruction for them. You know, they speak about things that and they speak about things that the low people, the lessers, go through, and they don't go through. You know, to speak about things that you got to go through the judicial system. They don't go through the judicial system, man. You know, they do whatever they want to do. This is Psalm 73, Psalm chapter 73, verse 5. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore, pride compasses them about as a chain. Violence, violence covereth them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than their heart could wish. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. You see, and that's what this shows you. Like this, that whole opioid epidemic. None of the Sackler family, none of them people were arrested and thrown into prison because of this opioid epidemic, man. And they were conning doctors, low level doctors, by way of their drug dealers that go about. Because you have legal drug dealers, these people that go out and sell drugs to these doctors and get them to prescribe them to their patients so that they can get the insurance money off of it, man. And they don't go to prison. But a nigga in the 80s and the 90s still in prison right now for selling drugs, man. They're making movies about our people being drug dealers and thugs, which they do that, but they're not as big as you Edomites. You Edomites, you do it on a grander scale, man. And it shows that.
And his confusion about the development process, since he has never built a single thing in his life. But
yeah, that's another thing too. These super elite, they don't do nothing. They don't get their hands dirty. They don't create anything but destruction and havoc. But out of their minds, they get to what? They get to live their heart's pleasure, man. You know?
That once the drug is launched, it will make his children, who cash checks generated by these shares, significantly wealthier than they are now.
Uncle Raymond, I resent the implication that we're all dilettantes.
My apologies, Kathy. We all know you're an invaluable part of the company.
Thank you. But A shares are rightfully concerned that if Oxycontin doesn't sell, or if it runs afoul of the FDA, or if insurance companies stop covering it for whatever reason, it could literally sink this entire company. Richard, I respect how hard you work, I really do, but this family has had a successful company for 40 years and now it's at risk.
Yeah, and these are lesser luminaries. These are lesser families. So this is Richard Sackler. This is the real Richard Sackler, right here. This is the real Richard Sackler, and it says when you go into it, it says Richard Sackler, born Richard Stephen Sackler, is an American billionaire businessman who was the chairman and president of Purdue Pharma, Big Pharma, a company best known as the developer of Oxycontin, whose connection to the opioid epidemic in the United States was the subject of multiple lawsuits and fines. And that's what they get. They get lawsuits and fines, but not them personally, the company. See? And look at this. Sackler was born in 1945, the son of Beverly Feldman and Raymond Sackler. His family is Jewish. These are so-called Jews. The super elite. He received a bachelor's degree from Columbia, followed by an MD from the New York University School of Medicine. They just gave that shit to him. They gave it to him because of his family. He became a research and development head of marketing. Sackler was the key figure in the development of Oxycontin. And we know that Oxycontin is one of the most addictive drugs on planet Earth, man. Being the moving force behind Purdue Pharma's research around 1990 that pushed Oxycontin to replace MS Contin that was about to have a generic competition. Sackler also worked to enlist Russell Portnoy and J. David Haddox into working with him within the medical community to push a new narrative claiming that opioids were not highly addictive. In pushing Oxycontin through the FDA approval in 1995, Sackler managed to get the FDA to approve a claim that Oxycontin was less addictive than other painkillers, although no studies on how addictive it was or how likely it was to be abused had been conducted as part of the approval process. The addictive nature of the opioids has been known for several decades. Sackler became the president in 1999 In 2001, he issued an email to employees in the company urging them to push a narrative that addiction to Oxycontin was caused by the criminal addicts who had addictions. You see that? So they'll blame it on the poor, man. They speak lawfully concerning oppression, who had addictions and not caused by anything in the drug itself. Sackler also urged pharmaceutical representatives to urge doctors to prescribe high doses as possible to increase the company's profits. So this man don't even care about life. He don't care about nothing but destroying. This is why Ecclesiastes 14:5 says this: He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. All right. There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is the recompense of his wickedness, man. And if he doth any good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at last he will declare his wickedness. So this man, he never cared about your health, the health of people. All he cared about was keeping his family rich and his family wealthy, and his whole family was in on it. They split their families up into A shares and B shares. And his family, they might put him on a front news or whatever, but guess what? This didn't even make the news. You didn't know. The majority of people don't even know the Sackler family. The majority, you Jakes out there, you never even heard of this guy. But these are the people that push these drugs on people. And they use illegal drugs as well as so-called legal drugs to get rich, man. All right? When somebody else outside of them is making money off of their product, that's when they go ape shit and they lose their mind and they cut that person down. They get them out the way. Because this is what they want. This is what they want. And so they have other drugs like Oxycontin. Oxycontin is sold under the brand names Roxycodone and Oxycontin, which is an extended release form, among others, is an opioid medication used for treatment of moderate to severe pain. It is highly addictive and is commonly used in recreational by people who have opioid use disorders. Okay? And it says, what is that? What's that poppy seed at? Yeah, opioid. Um, yeah, right here. And that's why Esau went over to Afghanistan to get. He went over there on the behest of us pharmaceutical companies, man, and the oil companies, man, so they can have a monopoly on these drugs. And this is what they do, because that's how this man make his money. You know, he talks about God, but his God is gold, oil, and drugs. He don't care about the Most High. The Most High not in his thoughts. Okay. This is Psalms 10:4. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. So he don't think about the judgment that the Lord is going to bring. That don't bother him. All he cares about is his bottom line. And not only him, but his entire family. The entire family, they sit and they speak of these things. They speak of these evils. Okay, and you got Jake standing here. I'm sure they had to sign NDA agreements that whatever they're spoken about, they won't speak about. And these Edomites, these super elite, they still live like you on a plantation, man. They still look at Jake as hardcore, like slaves, man. To them, you are nothing. You got these young Edomites, the older Edomites, they sit amongst each other, and they all had these kind of disagreements. But when they disagree, they don't fight and bring it to the streets. They go into a room and have a meeting and they hash it out, man. Over a plate of food, man. You know? This shit is crazy. This is Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in their power of their hand. And they covet fields and take them by violence. and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, man. And that's what they do. They gotta work evil upon their beds. They gotta work evil upon their beds before they go to sleep, man. You see? That's what they do. Sackler family. Listen to this. Check this out. All I typed in was the Sackler family. And it says the Sacklers who made billions from Oxycontin win immunity from opioid lawsuits, man. So here it is. They rest judgment. Why? Because this man is a millionaire, a billionaires, man. And their money talks, man. It said members of the Sackler family who are at the center of the nation's deadly opioid crisis have won sweeping immunity from the opioid lawsuits linked to their privately owned company, Purdue Pharma, and its Oxycontin medication. Federal Judge Robert Drain approved a bankruptcy settlement on Wednesday that grants the Sacklers global peace from any liabilities. Look at this shit. They get global peace. But you got Jake still in jail from the crack era. You got Jake in jail for weed. You got Jake in jail for all kinds of shit. Not saying that them getting in their life is good. But look, the so-called white men don't go through this. And then it says they grants the Sacklers global peace from any liability. So anywhere in the world where these opioids have become a problem, the so-called white man don't have to face any judgment for that. From any liability for the opioid epidemic. This is a bitter result, Drain said. I believe that at least some of the Sackler parties have liability for those opioid Oxycontin claims. I would have expected a higher settlement. Complex bankruptcy plan confirmed that Drain and a hearing of White Plains, New York, was negotiated in a series of intense closed doors mediation. So not even in public. You don't really know what came out of that over the past 2 years. The deals grant releases from liability for harm caused, and people have died. People have died. Have caused Oxycontin and other opioids to the Sackler, hundreds of their associates, as well as their remaining empire of companies and trusts. So it grants release from liability for harm caused by Oxycontin and other opioids to the Sacklers, hundreds of their associates, as well as their remaining empire and companies and trusts. See, the so-called white man is a devil. He's the biggest drug dealer on the planet Earth. In return, they have agreed to pay roughly $4.3 billion, while also forfeiting ownership of Purdue Pharma. Man, that's some bullshit. You see? So this man is not in trouble like other men. This man is not in trouble like other men. Meet the Sacklers, a family feuding. What is this? Meet the Sacklers, a family feuding over blame of the opioid crisis, man. And they get to live these luxurious lives. The first son, look at this, his 4 children. And these are Edomites. Ain't no Israelites amongst these group. The second son, Mortimer, 3 board members on Purdue Pharma. Well known on the arts and charity circuit, which that's all bullshit. They give charity and arts out as if they doing some philanthropy. Film producer, founder of Rook's Nest Ventures. And this dude, what did he do? This man is young. Let's look up Michael Sackler. This kid is young. They handed him all of this shit. You see, this is what the super elite do. This is the elite families do. Look at this nigga. Michael Sackler is the founder of managing partner at Rook's Ventures. He is a film producer of indie hit films like Witch and Obvious Child and the one behind the studio Rook's Nest Entertainment. And how did they get that money? Off of drugs, off of killing people. How did they get there? Off of drugs, killing people. The third son, Raymond, Jonathan, Richard, David Sackler, which we're talking about Richard Sackler right now. You see? Talking about they feuding. These motherfuckers living a high life, man. Look, these niggas living a high life. Arthur Felix Sackler, Lori Sackler, and Naomi Sackler. Yeah, they'll adopt one of these goop kids into their families. Wellington, Florida, speaking out for the first time about the fissure between Arthur's branch of the family and his brother's branch. These motherfuckers are the devil, bro. Satan, man. Fucking Satan, man. And look, they get to go across the world as debutantes and live their life and ball out of control. All of this made off of ill-gotten gain. That's why the Lord gonna destroy this motherfucker, man. It's this Psalm 64:1. It says, the chief musician, a psalm of David, hear my voice, O Most High. In my prayer, preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. That they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil manner. They commune laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? This is an example of that. This is just a dramatization of a whole real family. And there's many of them. These motherfuckers are fleeing they're in bunkers right now. They're getting prepared. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's more than just the Rothschilds, man. They got a lot of families out there that the average Jake don't know about. You get all excited about fucking Will Smith and fucking Jay-Z and Oprah Winfrey. But guess what, man? These Edomites, man, they got long money, man. They got long money off of straight up destruction, man. It says Moore helped secure the historic $246 billion so-called big tobacco settlement against cigarette company. Okay, I don't need to read that. But here it is, and they don't face no liability. They get to walk off into the sunset after all the people they done killed. Why? Because they done bought governments. They bought governments. They buy leaders. This is what lobbyists do. This is what they do. This man's a devil, man. And it always goes back to the so-called Jew, the J-Dubs, man. It always goes back to them. This Amalek, they're the ones that's living on a high horse. Out of all the Edomite families is Amalek, man, because they're the head tribe of Esau. But guess what, man? We're going to get all these motherfuckers in slavery. We're going to break them, man. We're going to break them, man. I just wanted to bring this out, so I hope you're edified with that and say shalom. I'm on to the next.